welcome to the 10-0 podcast by Train Like a Gymnast. And we have today Chellsie Memmel. I'm going to give her a little bit of a chance to give herself an intro, and we'll get started with our topics for today, talking about identity as a gymnast and lessons learned, and kind of how gymnastics has had an impact on her life. So welcome, Chellsie. Thank you for hopping on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Wonderful. So if somebody, has not heard about you, or maybe they're younger and they don't remember the 2008 Olympics, go ahead and tell people kind of like what your background in gymnastics is and what you do now.
Well, I won't go as far back, but both my parents were gymnasts, and that's how I got started, and progressed through the levels pretty quickly. And I made my first world team at 15 in 2003. And we won gold as a team, and then I was co-world champion on bars. And then in 2005, became world all-around champion, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And then, 2008, I made the Olympic team, and we got silver.
Yay! Awesome. Yeah, I remember that was like exactly when I was in gymnastics. So I remember looking up to you and that entire team. I wanted to be on 2012, so I was like, okay, this is the team before me, so I can do this. So how have you maintained your identity as a gymnast over all those years, as well as into retirement? Because you're still very actively involved in gymnastics. How has your identity as a gymnast continued since then?
It's a huge part of my life still. My parents still in the club. I'm there almost every day. Coach the girls there. I also judge, and judge elites at the highest level, which is a really cool thing to still be involved at that high level as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a part of who I am, and it always will be.
I love that. Yeah. When you leave, you're like, okay, well, how do I get back into the sport? Or is there a way for me? I started judging too, because in coaching, and it's just like you're around it, and you have to be around that environment. So how does
I never really left.
Yeah, that's true. You just kind of like transition into other, you're just not competing. How does that identity dictate your behavior, whether it be, eating wise or training yourself, or kind of like through your mindset and how you live your life?
I learned so many good habits from gymnastics that just carry over, and you just continue to do. Sometimes it's, without even a thought. It's one of the things is just setting goals, and that was a huge part. The other was time management, and just learning how to, either set a schedule or get things done, and that's really helpful, especially now that I have kids. It's a lot harder to stick to a schedule, but
Right.
I try to have one.
Yeah. So what does that look like for you? What's your schedule now?
Now I'm actually I've got it really lucky. I'm home with my kids the majority of the day, so we get a lot of time to hang out here, and then I go and coach in the afternoon and home at night. So, and then traveling generally for judging.
Right. Okay. And so since you have kids, I know they're fairly young, but what are those lessons, that time management, how are you starting to teach them those lessons now? And, what could you teach them as they get older?
So much. But yeah, just when we're doing activities or things like that, or, even just getting ready, because it takes forever sometimes to get ready and out of the house. So when you're trying to kind of direct them, to do the things that they need to do to leave. More so with my 4-year-old. But it's a lot of fun. But yeah, just trying to stick to a schedule like that. Okay, this is when we're leaving.
Yep. Yeah, I've like from babysitting too. You try and make it into a game. Okay, who can get dressed the fastest, right? Like that kind of stuff, and just like making it fun in a game and all like that. I think that helps a lot, because gymnastics is hard. It's not the easiest sport in the world, and a lot of people, when they do it, they break, or there's something that stops them from pushing further. So I guess in that sense, how did you keep the fun alive in your gymnastics career?
Having things like especially training with my dad from, starting again when I was 16. He would, play silly games like that would just kind of keep us a little bit more motivated. I'm never a big fan of strength and conditioning, and one of the things that we did, funny, I know, I'm into it more now, but
Right? Same.
yeah, we had a really good group of boys, and they conditioned with me, and they pushed me, to be so much better than I would have been, I think, too, especially with the conditioning, because it was like, I'm not going to lose to and they're all a few years younger than me, and
Right.
but so that was something huge. So every Saturday, they would come in and we'd have a huge conditioning day. So that created a lot of good, friendly competition.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I think the competitive nature always sticks around, no matter what. And that can help, when it's strength and conditioning, you got to see the light at the end of the tunnel somehow, some way. So how did you get into peak performance for your competitions, or, before routine? Like, what was your process to get in that peak state where you knew you could hit?
So many things. Just the physical shape, that was always the hardest part for me, was being in the best physical shape, because I'm not naturally slim. So that was always something that I had to work on. And the best thing for me when I was training was just walking outside or on the treadmill.
Wow.
Super low impact, clear my mind. I read a lot while I was on the treadmill. So that was one thing, especially as I got older, when it got even harder to, kind of maintain a healthy weight for training. So that was something that really helped me. And the other thing, just, numbers and training, obviously. And then I did a lot of mental work, going through all of my routines, visualizing them in my head, the perfect routine that I, wanted to do.
Yeah. So would you do that at competitions too? Like when you were actually in the arena, like, would you just walk around type of thing? Would you or would you sit in a corner and visualize? Like, how did that apply to day of?
A day of, well, then actually the night before the competition, I would, visualize the competition start to finish. Because we always knew what event we were going to start on. So that's what I did. I visualized that right before I went to bed. But I just was constantly visualizing my routine. If my mind just started to wander, I'd bring it back in with those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I love that. And can you think of a time or a moment that you are most grateful for in your entire career? That's a hard one.
It is hard, because there's so many moments that
Right.
stick out. One of them would just be if finally hear my name announced to making the Olympic team, because that was just like that. Oh my gosh, all of those years, hard work, setting that goal, and finally hearing your name called, and achieving that lifelong dream.
Wow.
So that was one of the biggest, that had just the biggest impact, because it was just like, oh my gosh, I finally did it.
Yeah.
But then it was funny, because then the realization then sinks in, like, holy crap, I gotta go compete.
Yeah, like, I'm not done yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got things to do. So I think I remember watching the 2004 Olympic trials. So how old were you in 2004?
16.
You were 16. Okay.
Yep.
So you were 20 for the 2000, which is a bit older for, for the Olympic team, which is mind blowing for gymnastics. So what did you learn from 2004 to not making it? What were those years in between 2004 to 2008, and how did you grow during that time?
A lot. It was, the end of 2004. That was just really rough, because it was a huge disappointment to get so close
For an
to making the
alternate,
team,
right?
but not. Yep.
Yeah.
But not quite there. We went to Athens. We trained at their training center, but
Yeah.
it was really tough. And then to have a really high, amazing 2005.
Yeah.
I started off 2006 really well, and just had a really bad ending to 2006 with hurting my shoulder, and didn't compete at all in 2007. So it was lucky for me that I had already gone through somewhat of the process, because I didn't compete everything in 2004 with my foot injury. But it was nice kind of having gone through that process, and it was a learning process too, still learning your body because you are a little bit older to train a lot smarter.
Right.
But
yeah. And those injuries, so how, because we've got girls who injure themselves or they have previous injuries, and sometimes people can use injuries as an excuse, like, oh, this just wasn't meant to be, or they can make it mean something. So what did you do? I just talked to Sofina De Jesus in the previous episode, and she fractured her back, I think when she was 16, and then she went on to become an elite and on the UCLA team. So it's like, how did you overcome these injuries and not let them stop you and actually make you better?
It's hard. But I mean, the biggest underlying thing was how much I love gymnastics. And that was just like the biggest motivator for me. And then on top of that, still wanting to make an Olympic team. So 2006, when I tore my shoulder, it sucked. Rehab sucked, the surgery, and, had to regain almost everything back in my arm. The one of those days that sticks out was being able to, raise my arm over my head again for the first time after the surgery. I was so excited. And then I stepped back, it's like, oh my gosh, this is pathetic. I'm excited about raising my arm. Right. And I still just knew how much longer there was to go. But, I had my goals and I wanted to do that. And, and I also had a great support system and a great team with my surgeon and my physical therapist there to help me, get back everything. So, and it's trying to stay positive. My parents were huge with that, not letting me kind of dip into a funk of like, oh my gosh, like, why did this happen? And like, it happened, and you can choose how you're going to deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't change the past. And because you had that very unique, that like makes my shoulder hurt bar skill. I don't know what was it? It was it named after you?
No,
okay. No. But you did that post surgery and post injury. So what was getting that kind of range back? Because that's just not, that's not just normal human. Because people say that I'm hypermobile. I'm like, okay, but I need to be able to put my foot like up here. I don't need like the normal person range of flexibility. So how did your physical therapist know that you needed that kind of like extra range?
Right. So she's phenomenal, and she has been my physical therapist since I was like 10, and has learned and knows. She continues to learn so much about gymnastics, but she's just phenomenal. So she would come into the gym multiple times to, see me train or watch the videos of the skill that I was like, I need to do that. So she would come up with, different variations or completely new exercises for me to do. So, that was huge. And it's funny because that skill, I was able to do that before some of my release moves. Just because there's a lot less support. Once I had my flexibility, then the release move.
Wow, that's incredible. And totally amazing for her to be able to just customize it in such a way and change her practice and help you. So if women are trying to get back into that, like find the inner athlete within themselves, or maybe they were a former gymnast and like, okay, my body was best when I was a gymnast. What's your advice for them, how they can find that purpose and enjoy training, like they used to, and get that back?
I would say it's funny for me because like doing these challenges each week, I look forward to them in some way, but it's having my team girls with me and having someone to compete against, that really makes a huge difference. And so if you have like someone to train with or someone to help motivate you on those days that you're really not feeling it, and that's what those girls in my team do for me. And it's funny because I did the one of the leg lift challenge. It was the first one that we did was so hard because we did it on Thursday. Yesterday. No, we did it yesterday.
Oh.
And I was like, we just videoed this last week, and I was like, I can't make it right now.
Oh
But
no.
it's so funny how much someone videoing and doing it with one of my girls like make you
Yeah.
go into like full on competition mode.
Yeah, and you're just getting that
So
state.
that yes, so that totally makes you better.
I love that. And sometimes, like, because it's social media, it's Instagram, it doesn't even have to be in person. Like, you could compete against someone, you know, who's doing, you could compete against me, you know, like different challenges against people
Absolutely.
virtually. So
Yep.
that's what I don't try to instill like the competitive per se, but like the empowering and kind of like friendly competition in our program, because
Yeah,
you know, these girls are
for
all
sure.
across. And so when they post their videos of their back handsprings and back tucks and stuff, like that is meant to inspire and say, okay, now it's your turn. Like, I challenge you. I love that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
The last question that I have for you is, what does it, and I ask this to everybody, is what does it mean to train like a gymnast?
I don't know. Gymnasts are just so awesome. I no, it's just such an amazing sport, and you know, to be able to train like a gymnast is just such a fun thing to do. Um, and it's unique. It's you know, it's a unique kind of training because you trying to be strong and flexible and you know quick, having quick motions too. So it's so unique, and it's such a cool thing to be able to train like. And I love that I can still do so much of that kind of training. And I've had so many people say, "Oh, you should get into CrossFit." I'm like, no, really? I
Yeah.
don't think that would be my thing. And I know so many gymnasts, you know, love it, and
Yeah.
you know, I think that's awesome. But I just feel so much more at home in a gym,
Yeah.
gymnastics gym.
Agreed. Like, I work at a corporate gym, and tomorrow is my last day. And, you know, we get a free gym membership with working there. I think I've maybe worked out there 10 times, if that. I think it's both on two hands. I just like have to go to a gymnastics gym, because like if you do handstands in a regular gym or tumble, it's just like, oh, you're just showing off. That's all I know. Like, I know how to train other
Yeah.
people like this. I just don't, that's just not where I feel at home. Like you said, like that's my thing. Well, perfect. So I guess the last thing before we sign off would just be, how can people find you on social media, get a hold of you? Where should they go?
Instagram, I am cmemmel23, and Twitter, it's funny because I just did a podcast with Sam not too long ago. I had to look up my own handles. Twitter, I'm just at cmemmel.
Okay, perfect.
But yeah, so,
cmemmel23 and cmemmel. Okay,
yeah,
perfect. Thank you so
right.
much. Do you have anything else to say? Otherwise, we're good for this episode. That's it. Cool.
Sounds awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. I know it's late over there.
Yeah, no, I'm going to bed.
Okay. Good night.
Good
Thank you,
night.
Chelsea.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.